Halo Nightfall is an action drama. It's really about people. It's about characters, including a character who's going to show up in Halo 5 Guardians.
It's a story about Oni agent Locke. Locke is kind of the best of Oni, and he's been sent on a mission to a place called Cedra.
He's an intelligence officer. He is well known as a manhunter, and that's actually what brings him to planet Cedra.
I think we're pretty much as an elite force as you can find. I'm expected to lead this group and point them in the right direction and to get the task done.
You don't play God! That's not your right!
He has an interesting character arc in Halo 5 Guardians, but his journey and his transformation really start here in Halo Nightfall, and in some ways that's really what the story's about. It's a story about heroes and the good and the bad side of heroism and what people expect from heroes.
The team that we meet in Nightfall, there's two teams really. There's the Oni team, there's Locke's crew, and then there's the Cedrans, the local forces, who don't really appreciate the presence of Oni there.
Oni doesn't work alongside anyone, it's just you and everyone else way below.
And so when you have the Oni and the Cedran Colonial Guard come together, what you really get is a clash of cultures. You get the Oni, who are sort of the height of military technology and prowess, and the Cedrans, who have had to fend for themselves without the benefit of UNSC support. And so the coming together really is a dynamic that plays out even within itself.
I'm the one making the decisions around here. We're not making any decisions like that.
Your team is dead and you got no ship. You're just one of the rest of us now.
Horrigan.
Yes, sir.
Aiken is a colonel in the Cedran forces, and when you meet him, he's a Cedran. He's strong, everybody looks to him. But you find out throughout the course of the show that he actually has a much more complicated history, in that he was a Spartan too.
He is sort of the badass of Cedra, and so Aiken and Locke end up having an interesting arc together.
I think one of the most exciting things about Halo Nightfall for hardcore Halo fans is the main location of the action. We start off on the planet Cedra. It's an outer colony world. It's pretty interesting in itself. But we end up on a lost fragment of the first Halo ring.
Ring fragment, really, that we encounter in the show is a leftover piece of the ring that Master Chief blew up in the very first game. You've been on this ring before, but this is what happens after it explodes and after security systems that the Forerunners built into the Halos tried to go off, didn't really work so well. So we're left with really just a shattered piece of what used to be this enormous ring in the sky.
Impossible.
Plants, water. What the hell is this?
Halo ring? I don't put anything past it.
And it's almost like a living creature. The terrain and the geology is its skin, and it's trying to maintain its ecosystem and trying to repair itself every night before the sun rises. Because when the sun rises, it gets to 900 degrees. So our heroes find themselves trying to survive on this incredibly, incredibly dangerous environment.
The remaining life, kind of the big local threat, aside from being burnt to a cinder, are the worms. Golo worms, they're called. Fans of the Halo games, or people that have been in the universe before, have seen them mostly as hunters. These are worms, kind of collectives of these worms that gather into these forms. They build the big blue, kind of stompy guys with great big plasma cannons and shields that'll usually try to smack you. But these are all individual worms, kind of individual creatures that band together to accomplish a higher purpose. And so these worms that they encounter on the Halo fragment are much more feral, much more dangerous, much more hungry, maybe is a good way to describe them, because they don't have a lot to eat on a Halo ring, so when our heroes show up, that looks pretty good to them. It's fun for fans of the games who've been seeing these things for quite a while to encounter them in a new form, and frankly, kind of a terrifying new form.
So we come to the planet, we encounter something that we did not anticipate, and basically we're going to be left to our own resources. The suit that I'm in will become useless. The equipment we brought will basically be a detriment to us, and from here on in, it's going to be bare bones. It's going to be back down to the basics.
None of us are getting off this stone. And in 5 hours and change, that sun is coming up. We're all gonna be dust.
That's not true. There's still the tug.
When the Condor crashes and is no longer flyable, Ramos is really the first that it kind of sinks into how dire the situation is, that no matter how successful the mission is, there's only 2 seats on the tug to get out, and he is the first that voices we need to start making some decisions here.
Some of us aren't going to survive the night. That's a given.
You're looking around these people who you have spent so much time with, you've had their backs, but at the end of the day, what happens when your survival instinct kicks in and you go, holy crap, I've got to survive.
It's a great dramatic dilemma, isn't it? You want everyone to survive. Imagine putting yourself in that situation. You know, there are 2 seats, 5 people. I mean, that cranks up the drama in the last act.
Aiken has that wonderful line at the end of the movie that says, in your life, are you going to create nothing but death, or in your death, are you going to create life? And I think that's a question that maybe every soldier has to ask himself.
The Condor came about because we needed a very practical vehicle from a story perspective that had slipspace capabilities.
Humanity across the galaxy in Halo is spread out. There's some established inner worlds, places like Earth, but then planets like Cedra are further away, and they're a little bit more on their own. They've got a little tougher existence.
On Cedra, there is not a lot of new technology. A lot of what they have has come from sort of decommissioned UNSC vehicles, and so we were trying to think of something that would not be new tech.
Much of the ship is going to be added after shooting is over through CG, but there's a lot of a spaceship in the warehouse right next door, and it's pretty fun to kind of come into work every morning and say, hey, spaceship, what's going on?
Action!
It is giant. It's really impressive, and I think you kind of get that nostalgia of seeing a Pelican, but it's much, much bigger than that.
Try to keep up.
When I saw the armor, these guys are the top of their game. These things are just the coolest. Like, we are wearing the coolest stuff, and I mean, I look like I am in the game. I'm in the game.
We've been doing Spartan design for so long, and here was an opportunity where we got to create Oni armor. They have different needs, their tech is a little bit different, but designing a whole new armor set is such an interesting, creative challenge.
As an actor, you never want to try to play the affectation, like, look how cool I look. But when you put that armor on, it's hard not to immediately and instantly be put into not only your character, but into the Halo universe immediately.
And I walked in front of the mirror and I was like, wow. It's like, yeah, I felt like an action hero. I felt like an action figure who would just like come to life. I also found myself walking around trying to pick up things that were really big and heavy. Like I was trying to move a car even though I couldn't. I couldn't pick the car, but I felt like I could because I had a suit on. Part robot, part man, you know? That's what I feel like when I'm in the suit.
It's in pieces, so we'll have the leg pieces, we'll have the arm pieces, we'll have the chest pieces, we'll have the helmet, and all of them are connected to electricities because obviously a huge part of the script is powering up and powering down.
Power down.
So I'm hiding battery packs for helmet torches, mic packs, battery packs for the LEDs. There's a ton hidden on them. We've cables. I don't even know how many meters of cables I have per person, but quite a lot. Quite a lot hidden carefully, I hope.
But it makes you stand up straight because there's no room for slouching, there's no room for anything, and it makes you feel like a soldier.
The helmets are very unique. They're sculpted to fit us. They're mic'd so we can hear each other talking. We're on a mission, which really helps when you're shooting this film, and also helps for the sound department and makes us feel like we're in the moment, like we're really on a mission.
We can power up if you want and shoot it out.
We all are carrying these enormous guns. I'd like to say I'm strong enough that they're not heavy, but they're pretty heavy, man, when you're holding them one-handed for like a take and you're trying not to let your arm shake.
It's just amazing to see how all of these things have been so intricately made into like living, breathing props that we can interact with, and it just looks perfect. It's the stuff of dreams.
I hope we have brought to life what they created.
My name is Nick Chopping and I'm the stunt coordinator on Halo.
And action!
Along with the stunts, the stunt department are responsible for looking after actors and crew safety. We prepare the actors for this sort of job. We have to give them kind of pretty hardcore training. We actually took them to the quarry as well, where we were working beforehand, so they could see what they're up against.
When we were prepping for this, I remember seeing the stunt guys like jumping down these high high mountains.
There's a lot of climbing, a lot of jumping, a lot of running.
We were talking about abseil, and then went through lots of military exercises, and that really did help when we started shooting.
There was a lot of running, a lot of jumping, a lot of sprinting, a lot of just take after take after take. It was really a good workout. If I wasn't in shape when I started this project, I definitely got in shape by the time it's over.
My feet, I can't feel them now, pretty much, because it's 3 or 4 weeks of walking on the rocks. It's quite hard work.
I didn't realize I'm not as young as I used to be. You have to stretch before these things. You have to kind of get up and stretch and get warmed up. So I got up, and we had a long day of stunts, and I just got right into it. That night when I went back to my trailer, I could barely touch my feet. Once I got past the little back issue, I was ready to go. I was ready to go. Yeah.
We have a military advisor on site who's a stunt performer in his own right, and we look at the cast, and if they do a shot, then we'll make sure that they're up to speed military-wise, a few little tweaks here and there, and very important to hold their rifles in the right position, make sure they're walking right, make sure that they're, when they're going into the valleys, just to make sure that it looks correct and they cover themselves.
I love doing things like that, like stunty stuff. I was like, oh, what can I do? Like, let me do the falling out of the condor, let me do the stunts. And they're like, no, seriously, you're not going to want to do the stunts. I was like, no, I do. No way. So then Annabelle, who's amazing, does her thing where she's throwing about the condor. Did it in one take. I just did not know how she survived. I was like, everyone was just stunned at the fact that she was still able to stand up and walk after that. It was mental, crazy, so violent. The way it was done, she's incredible, and I'm glad Nick told me that I couldn't do it.
There's a few deaths, so I mean they cover all the deaths, which they're all epic. You know, it's not just a little. It includes a lot of falling over, a lot of rolling down stuff, and obviously Curtis with my stunt dying.
This particular stunt, the stunt double stood at his start mark, and on the director's call, threw himself down, rolled head over heels. Makes it look very, very messy.
It was cool that Curtis, the stunt guy, done an awesome job. I mean, rolling down the hill like that. It's like he doesn't care about his life.
He went about 30 feet. Sometimes that's what you have to do. Just do it, basically.
He just took a tumble, just doing loads of flips until he got to the bottom, and he was like, I'm gonna do it again. I'm like, you're nuts. But yeah, he loved it.
Last chance, Colonel.
One of the particular shots that we had was when 4 of the Marines, the Oni, jump out of the Pelican and they land on their feet. You can't do that in real life. So we need to have them all on wires. We have a specialist wire team that sets the wire rig up, and we rehearse it with weighted sandbags first to make sure and see how they react to the same weight as the stunt performers. And then once we're happy with how that reacts, then we'll put the stunt performers onto the wires.
1, 2, 3, 4.
If you have to drop in somebody from 30 feet, you can kill somebody from that height, and that has to be safe. Doing stunts for real in real locations, the audience will see that it's real, and there's no disguising that. Do it again. Some of the locations we've been on are challenging for crew, but at the same time they were just awesome, and I really believe that's going to reflect in the production that's being made.
Once the story and casting was in place, the biggest decision that had to be made was where we were going to set ourselves up to realize this world.
We looked at literally all over the world for locations. When you think of filmmaking, people only think of Hollywood. The reality is that movies are being made all over the world because there are craftsmen and artisans and artists in these amazing places.
Belfast has a great setup, a thriving film industry here, and a lot of access to some really great crews, really great talent, and Belfast gave us a chance to really make a new planet.
Belfast has been amazing in the range of environments and locations that we've been able to get to.
A bunker, we had an underground bunker we filmed in, which is a great location.
We're filming in a forge, we're filming in forests.
The forest was really extraordinary. I thought it was like a unique spot. You couldn't tell where you were.
There's something so amazingly beautiful about Northern Ireland and about Belfast. When you're going to places like Tollymore Forest, a sort of exotic, untouchable aspect to it that you don't see in just a normal forest. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, the Titanic Museum, it's a wonderful building. It's got great architecture, and you just need to look at it, and it has a shimmer feel off it. There's a marvellous wall of steel, which we used outside to back the stalls and the marketplace of Sidra. The interiors are absolutely fantastic because of the escalators that are cutting through the building.
Really looks like a futuristic city when the art directors have all set it up.
We were building a story that required a certain look. We needed a world that looked scoured and scorched and oppressive, but it also had to be beautiful, and there's only really a few places on Earth that fit that criteria. We ended up in a place that one of Ridley Scott's other projects, Prometheus, made great use of, which is Iceland. It has a huge variety of landscapes.
It's got a very alien, kind of primal feel to it.
It looks out of this world. I can't fathom that this actually exists on this planet.
Every day is like the drive to work is stunning.
It's sort of like when you see the Grand Canyon, you know, if you see it in pictures, you're sort of like, wow, that's amazing. But if you see it in person, you're like, you're just speechless.
And there's kind of beauty to it, but a dark beauty, and I think that's so fitting to what we're doing here, because this turns into a very dark film.
You know, the ring is a Forerunner-made structure, but it is also meant to represent a natural habitat. It is not functioning properly, and so really having this unique landscape and being able to really infuse it with some unnatural behaviors was really compelling for us.
We've shot in interior caves, which look great, lava fields. We've shot the most amazing glacier locations. So what Iceland gave us was the huge landscapes that our characters could move across.
There are movies that you do that is all green screen now, and you've got to pretend there are rocks about, but we actually have rocks, and we have scenery that's breathtaking, and so you don't have to imagine, you can just play the scene, which is always nice.
We've been, well, some people would say we've been unlucky with the weather, but for photography-wise, we've been quite lucky with the weather. There hasn't been a lot of sun, although it's glorious now.
Well, the first half in Belfast we were in a studio, so it was obviously contained and a lot easier. Out here, it's just one word, cold. Cold.
As we're doing this interview, I'm trying to look as if I'm cool, calm and collected, but I'm absolutely freezing.
Wind, rain, snow, we have it all here in one day.
It's been a bit difficult. Some days I'm not dressed like this. I'm dressed in something that's a lot more, I guess say, summer-like.
You know, we have our actors pretending that it's over 100 degrees and they're sweating. So we're spraying these guys down with fake sweat, which is cold, and the temperature's dropping to, 40 degrees.
There were a couple of days where we just got completely soaked to the bone. Even the waterproof didn't work.
We shot in a cave for one of our locations, and the cave, when I first stepped into it, I must say, I was a bit nervous.
We thought it would be pretty dry in the cave. It turned out to be the opposite. It was wetter inside the cave than it was out.
Water's on the ground, water goes to the cave, water comes from the roof.
I think everybody was very pleased to get out of the cave.
Sergio likes to shoot on a slope a lot of the time, which has its own challenges.
Up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill, round the hill, down the hill, off the hill. But it was fun at the same time.
So it's been pretty amazing to watch, and they've been troopers, and they've just sort of powered through it. It's been a pretty fantastic process, both in terms of the challenge for the actors and in terms of the challenge for the filmmakers.
There's 24 hours of daylight.
that changes people to a less or a greater degree.
My fondest memory of this film will be getting on the aircraft and going home.
Locke is an intelligence officer. He has always kind of lived in the shadows between the conventional military and Black Ops.
Locke, first and foremost, is a leader. He's a guy who can think on his feet, who's always one step ahead of the adversary.
Locke is kind of the best of Oni, and he's been sent on a mission to a faraway world.
He is well known as a manhunter, and that's actually what brings him to the planet Cedra. I think that Mike Coulter, who plays Locke, has an especially entrenched role in the Halo universe now, because he's going to be a character that appears in the game.
When we had our initial meetings with 343, they had a couple of pages and some specific and some generalized notions of where the Locke character might be evolving, because this film represents an origin story of sorts, not only introducing the character, but he goes through some profound transitions over the course of our story.
He is on a path going into our story, and I think starts to understand a little bit differently, you know, what it means to be a soldier, what it means to be a leader, and really, in this universe, who does he want to be? Coming to the ring is not only new for him, it's actually new for the UNSC in general. And so I think he comes into it thinking it'll be sort of a clear-cut mission, and what he finds is that it's very different from that.
It puts him in a situation where he's encountered something that he wasn't expecting. He came to do a mission, he had a finite amount of time to do the mission, and this is something he didn't plan.
The mission quickly turns in terms of what the threat is and what they need to deal with.
Through part of this, we kind of see him learn what it's like to be a commander, learn what it's like to lose some people, and kind of get ready for the next big step in his career in Oni and with the UNSC.
It's intriguing for us to explore a new character and to do it this way as opposed to doing it on paper, which frankly when we're working on a game is typically how we do it. It's let's write his backstory and then let's figure out what his arc is moving forward. Here we're really living out his backstory, and some of that has changed its shape as we've gotten through the course of the film, and in turn will change sort of the shape of his future in the game. Mike has such a warm and energetic personality.
Mike is Locke. He just has this great presence.
He brings a strength that you've got to come up against, and he brings that energy on set, and he raises the bar, which you have to then sit on, or you're gonna not look as good as him.
Casting Mike has been inspiring for the rest of us, I think. He feels like he's the leader.
I think that's been really critical in being able to express the confidence of Locke. But also, you know, as that confidence gets chipped away at, I think it has that much more meaning for the viewer.
I like characters that have a bit of poise. There's always something underneath. They're always thinking about the next move. And so that's what Locke is. Locke has that, and in spades. When I saw this character, I just thought, wow, it's an interesting character. So I feel something I can connect with this, and I felt like it was something that would maybe be an interesting character to play. And obviously, once they started telling me things, I realized that it was going to be quite a journey.
One of the interesting things about his role in our story is that he's beginning a journey, and his character arc isn't fully set. People who watch this and then play the game are going to get to go on that journey with him and see what kind of character he becomes. And they'll have a really good understanding of why he makes some of the choices that he ultimately makes in Halo 5 Guardians. We're working with an amazing cast.
We have Horgan, who is a compulsive person.
Try to keep up.
Horgan's the sort of person that you want in a battle. He's going to fight harder than most soldiers, especially for Locke.
Ramos, he's a medic, he's a family man.
His sense of duty and his sense of service comes from that place. This service is for his family, to keep them safe.
Hold up on that. What do you got, Estrin?
And then we have Estrin. He's a bit of a smart aleck.
Let me guess. You majored in physics. I think he's fitter, he's younger. He gets the girls as well.
Then we have some other characters that aren't Oni, but they are Cedrons.
The thing you don't understand about Cedrons. We've lived in a state of perpetual war surrounded by enemies. We were born fighting.
Mesa is only 19. She'll do anything for her planet. She does see herself going to the next stage, because protecting her planet would be to become Oni. Then there's also her relationship with Aiken as well. It's almost like a father-daughter relationship.
Now, once we're boots down, we'll have roughly 8 hours before sunup. Anybody who's on the surface at that point is dead.
Aiken's, being biased, I think, is the most interesting character in the piece because of this humane thread that runs throughout. He was from the Spartan 2 program. He's got the scars now to show that this is his history. His daughter died as a result of the ongoing war, and this sort of propels him, actually, into action.
There's a lot of history with Aiken, and there's a lot of things that I will find out as a character, but their paths crossed for a reason.
It takes a long time for him and Locke to warm to each other. There's a kind of integrity that runs through both of them, and they can sense that in each other. And through the deeds, they find some kind of common ground along the journey.
See you in Valhalla.
Everyone's been fantastic. I don't really have a bad word to say about anyone, which I feel like I should.
Alex is a great story. We actually got him fresh out of acting school. Really an amazing, amazing find.
This is my first job. I couldn't have wished for a better cast to be around.
He's a great guy and a fantastic actor and a lot of fun to be around.
And then we've got Christian, who's playing Ramos. And Christian has a complex character to play.
Love Christian, he's funny, he takes forever to eat. Seriously, he's got his lunch. He's still got his breakfast waiting, but he's got his lunch.
There's always that one guy on every job that is kind of not fun to be around. And on this job, you're looking around like everyone's cool, everyone's fun to be around. So then you start thinking, okay, that's me. I'm the guy nobody wants to be around, which is probably true. And I'm sure the other guys have said as much. So.
Luke's very pro. He stays in character a lot.
Luke and I actually went to the same drama school. So we had that sort of, I mean, I don't know if it's like an instant camaraderie, but Luke and I have known each other for about 10 years.
When it comes to doing scenes with buddies, every day's a good day. So it's good.
And Christina Chung as well. She's fantastic, man. A lot of fun to be around.
I think they're very aware that I'm the only girl, and they even mentioned something at the beginning, you know, how you're gonna feel, you're the only girl, and I was like, oh God, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. So they've been very good looking after me and very brotherly.
Whoa! Sorry. I'm all right. It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. We're good.
I've loved them. They're great. We get on so well. I've been watching Steve Waddington all my life.
It's great to have Steve on set because, you know, he's a veteran. He's been around. It's nice to have him to bounce off of as a character and as a person.
Steve and I have these little funny, giggly moments. We're in a scene where we're off camera. Like the other day it happened and I looked at him. We just burst out laughing. I don't know why.
Of course we bond. You know, we go to the bar, we have a drink, and we talk about the script and whatever. And so, yeah, the bonding goes on.
In London, I guess they say they take the piss out of it. In America, we say, you know, we don't take ourselves so seriously. We have a good laugh about it. So it's nice to have Steve on set, and he's added a lot to this project.
Mike Coulter, he's a naturally versatile actor, and one who foremost was very eager to take on sort of the breadth of this challenge. And I think, you know, collectively we're all pretty thrilled with landing with Mike.
It's been really amazing, and Mike has been the perfect leading man.
Mike Coulter is maybe the coolest dude you'll ever meet, so instantly I hated him, of course.
When I first met Mike, I didn't know how to speak to him. I was like, hi.
He's 6'3". I'm supposed to be taller than him. I'm not. I'm 6'1". I'm not exactly small, but he's huge, you know. And he not only that has this presence and this charisma.
Mike talks a lot. He does talk a lot. He's a little talker. He's funny.
And that American vibe, that American feel, you know, it's just well, everybody likes him.
We have a great time. So I'm of the mindset of I'm not a method actor. When we say cut, I do like to just you know go back to myself, and then we work it out and we try and slip back into what we're doing. It makes the atmosphere on set a lot easier. It makes everybody on set feel a lot more relaxed, and that way people can do their best work.
Everyone has seemed to have bonded really well.
Good bunch of people. I mean, we've been having a great time off camera as well as on camera.
So it really does feel like the cast and crew, everyone's really pulling together, especially with the conditions, the weather conditions and everything. It's almost like we're all brothers and sisters type thing. It's really nice.
You know, when we started talking about where to set this, you know, we had this construct of a fragment of the Halo ring has obviously broken off in the explosion from the very first game. It's both trying to maintain its ecosystem and trying to repair itself every night. And the entire film is going to be set at night. It's the only safe time to land on this sort of tumbling fragment of Halo ring. So our heroes find themselves trying to survive on this incredibly, incredibly dangerous environment.
The biggest proportion of the movie happens on an alien planet, the Halo Ring. It's a constant sort of cloud cover of stormy skies and generally very sort of down on the planet. So the challenge was to try and work that day for night into a very sort of elongated day shooting schedule over 2 countries.
Impossible.
Plants, water. What the hell is this?
I really liked the scene where the team first come into the Oasis location in Iceland, and they discover this huge sort of green canyon. I think that scene worked really well.
Halo ring? I don't put anything past it.
Very, very VFX heavy, kind of across the board. Beyond the sort of practical environment, Sergio's doing a lot of work with VFX in terms of the sky and the atmosphere. We're shooting day for night, and so environments alone are kind of a huge VFX task.
Those shots of you looking across the landscape, you know, taking in things that weren't there. A lot of times, we're looking at things that aren't there, and that's why we have great CGI artists to come in and really help to flesh that out for the audience.
And then on top of that, we have all of the creatures that we see. The hunter worms are something we've only seen in one form before, and a lot of people don't actually realize that hunters are made up of all of these individual worms that are intertwined.
Those are very challenging as an actor. You're trying to create something that's actually not there. I like that. It's like using your imagination. It's really fun.
And then Cedra, you know, Cedra it's an outer colony planet, and that has to feel like it's something new and somewhat unexplored.
Sergio has been great on getting really up to speed very quickly on the Halo universe, kind of understanding what really grabs people about the Halo aesthetic. But when we were creating, really going a lot deeper into defining Oni, what Oni looks like, what Oni acts like in the show, Sergio incorporated a lot of the existing ideas that we had about Oni. A lot of Oni has been shown in Halo before, only in the novels, so it's only really been described and not really seen. So Sergio was able to take some of those ideas, look at things like existing ODST armor, existing Spartan armor, and come up with some really cool designs of what Oni-specific armor would look like.
Although it's a uniform, we still needed to be able to identify them, and they have their helmets on. It gets a little bit tricky because everyone would look the same. So we decided to give them colors. So all of them with their color, they have a stripe that goes down the center of the breather pack. Locke being red, because he's our leader and red is always a strong color. Estrin green, Ramos blue, medical. Horrigan then, because he is not the nicest of characters toward the end, black. We had toyed with having a skull, but that had been done before. So Sergio came up with having a wolf. Everything's aged, nothing's too new. You know, there's the odd dent in places, there's this odd scratch in places, to make them really look like the Halo game, which I think we've achieved. I hope so.
You know, translating the video game world into live action, I think there's a few things we always want to achieve. One is, A, sort of pay it off for people that they're finally getting to see things that they've only seen in a sort of virtual form. So I think that's one part of it. The other part of it is we do want to create sort of these new worlds and environments and give something totally new to people so that it's both the satisfaction of seeing something they've already experienced and also seeing something new. And then obviously for new Halo fans, we are creating the universe for them.
In a sense, I feel like anybody that watches it, whether they know the Halo world or not, they can step into it or turn a channel and look at it and go, man, it seems interesting and I think I want to find out more. We want to bring in some new fans to this world. And if they become gamers, I think that's a great thing. But I think we want to try to make a really good film and make something that people are like, you know, interested in seeing, independent of Halo.